Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers. So today is a little bit of a mix-up. It's actually a film I have seen numerous times and Paul has never seen. So the film that we've got today, you'll never guess it is probably a bit of a chick flick, is You've Got Mail. So Paul, I'm going to hand it over to you. What did you think?
So I'd seen Sleepless in Seattle, which was a 1993 film. I don't know if you've seen that.
I think I have, yeah. It has obviously Tom Hanks and
Meg Ryan in that one, and this does as well.
I think they've got a good chemistry.
Yes, very good chemistry between the two characters. So much so, I think the director who directed this film was the director on Sleepless in Seattle as well. So obviously there seemed to be a good pairing up.
Yeah.
It was about 5 years difference between these two films. But I remember that I enjoyed Sleepless in Seattle when I saw that. So I don't know how this passed me by. I guess I maybe kind of blended the two together in a sense and kind of just glazed over it kind of thing maybe, perhaps. But
now I think I'm more familiar with You've Got Mail than Sleepless in Seattle, if I'm completely honest. But I know that this is one of my mum's favourite films. But weirdly enough, even though I've watched it so many times, it's normally been on like TV where you've got the adverts. So it's like parts of it you've missed and you catch it up in. So I know the ending very well. But the beginning was quite enjoyable for me because I don't think I've ever caught it straight at the beginning for a long time.
Now, talking of the beginning of the film, the opening credit sequence, quite amusing in a way because, like, the 3D model of New York City they've got going on there looked like something that you'd do in like modern today's standards. We do like a pre-render, like to get the basis of what a 3D concept of something thing before you build it up with all the special lighting effects and stuff. But obviously I know that's probably back then being it like, wow, this is amazingly revolutionary.
I think I noticed a little bit this time a lot more dated things within it. But it was more like a nostalgia thing for me because obviously I've grown up with this film, so I probably wouldn't have thought of it as anything technically bad. There's definitely a bit of nostalgia with the internet as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the old dial-up thing. I don't know if people remember such a thing.
Probably younger generations won't. Definitely not.
No, not.
But
you don't know what you got it. You got it lucky. You lot.
It took forever as well, and
didn't it just
like now you complain like if the internet drops or something like that. It's like, well, imagine dial-up and. Only one person could have it. Like, it was only one computer in the house.
Pretty much, yeah. It wasn't a thing that you could easily access.
No.
Freely. Not everybody had a device they could use.
It was like shared time that you could get on
almost,
these.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it messed up your phone line.
Yes, it did.
So like you could have either or. It wasn't like you could have both.
Yeah. So that was when you're hearing that dial tone. Of
memories. It does. Does it bring back memories, but not good ones?
So, introduced to Tom Hanks, who's Joe Fox, and Meg Ryan, who's Kathleen Connor, I believe that's her last name is.
Kathleen Kelly?
Kelly, that's it, sorry. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah, so they're in the separate parts of the city with what seems like they're with partners that they don't really want to be with. They kind of get that impression straight off the bat.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the partners leave the house, they're straight on the computer doing the thing to see if they got any mail.
Now, I feel like it's quite innocent at the start. I don't think it's anything like malicious. Like, I wouldn't class it as somewhat cheating in a sense. It's more like a friendship. But it's a bit concerning because obviously you're not having that relationship with the partners that they're with.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's like, it is just genuinely just chit-chat. But it's like, well, they don't seem to do that kind of chit-chatting with their loved ones or who should be their loved ones.
Yeah, they're obviously doing it because they're not getting the satisfaction in conversation or whatever from them. I guess it's the kind of excitement of not knowing
who
the
this
person really is. And
I guess it is somewhat like intriguing, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
because you're like talking to this person, and you're building up. It's kind of like reading a book. You're building this character up in your head of what you're thinking he might look like, because you're only kind of getting what he's saying to you.
Yeah, I'm talking of books. They're both in the book industry. One being a big like corporate,
like Waterstones, or
yeah,
like they used to have one where I don't know if it was a Waterstone, and you have like Starbucks, and you know it's big kind of. But then I wouldn't think Waterstone is that cheap. To be fair, here it isn't. Anyways,
no, I don't know what. There's probably other ones in other places where there's the equivalent of what ours is here in the UK, which is that Waterstones is the big titan of bookshop.
Yeah.
And she's a little bookstore down the corner, and it's called
Shop around the corner. I wish I had a shop around the corner that was like
yeah.
a little bookstore like that
Yeah.
when I was little.
Because it did look quite quaint, and it'd be like, I'd love to work something like that.
And it was such a lovely place. Everyone that did work there, you could see the connection of like family they had within the shop, and I think it just kind of had an extra little touch to it compared to like your big corporate.
But it seemed to only really specialise in children's books, so that seemed the thing. So it wasn't like a big thing. So it's very niche.
Yeah, so it does lose out in a sense, but obviously, children are always going to be a thing, aren't they? I know they're going to grow up, but then there's another generation of children.
Yeah, sure, speaking of, we mentioned Starbucks as well. I know I quite like the analogy that Tom Hanks gives in sort of like the monologue. It was about I wrote down here somewhere, sort of paraphrase, but the whole purpose of places like Starbucks is for people with no decision-making ability whatsoever to make 6 decisions just to buy a cup of coffee.
Yeah. It's overwhelming, I think, a Starbucks is. Like, unless you have a precise cup of coffee that you order every day and that you don't, like, deviate. If you're wanting something a little bit extra special, like at Christmas when they update the menu.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what I want. And then it's like, there's these people behind you who do know. And I'm like, oh, you can go in front of me because I don't generally know. And I am one of those that take forever to make a decision, aren't I?
Yeah, I hate that when you're looking at the food menus or drinks menus or whatever, and you're like, I don't know, I've never been here before. Just give me a coffee, just a normal coffee, please. Yeah. Because I feel like pressured to.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be the case of having to cram so many different options into one. Yeah. It should definitely reduce it.
Yeah, I just like that one.
Yeah, it is. It does make me laugh when he says it. And he's got kind of that voice where it's somewhat kind of truth in it, but yet somewhat kind of making it funny at the same time, if that makes sense. Yeah. I am a sucker for Tom Hanks, I'm not going to lie.
No, yeah, he's never really does a bad performance, so this is a big selling point for even throughout the film. Just him.
Did you know it was Tom Hanks when I said You've Got Mail? Because I didn't really give you a clue.
Yeah, I think I kind of heard it around, but I didn't know really what it was about in terms of the storyline or anything. But I also noted down it seemed to be like a lot of retail consumerism shown in a lot of stores being opened up, like shots of that going on. Like this is how it is now, and things like people are very high demand of going to get the fix of the pretzels and things and all that kind of stuff.
With the shopping and such. And I think it was also showing cleverly how consumerism was progressing. Like the shop around the corner, there's always going to be this big bad wolf or fox that that come along, and they've got the better goods and it's more streamlined, and it's kind of showing that kind of consumerism that even though you've got something really special with the shop around the corner, people want to get the book faster, have everything in one place, it be cheaper, and be able to get a coffee as well as normally a selling point. And I think that's what is kind of
how things have certainly developed a lot more now these days.
Yeah.
And there being a scene where Joan Fox goes into her little
shop around the corner,
buying books for the kids. Not his kids, are they?
No, it's a bit of a messed up scenario. So the little girl is his auntie, And then the little boy is actually his brother. It's a bit of a messed up family scenario because, like, in what world should your auntie be younger than you, really? She should be older.
Modern Family.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when he goes to buy the books, and then he's like, oh, how much are these? And he brings up the till, and it's like 75,000.
He's only got about 4 books, I think. So they must have cost like £20 or something each.
Yeah, some of the inflation, but again, I think that's just the thing of independent stores to survive. They have to bump up the price, don't they? That's what you're going to get for the service and the
quaintness and obviously, like you said, the one-on-one service. Also, they get the privilege of sitting there and reading a book and it being more child-friendly environment.
Yeah. But that's just, again, just how it works, the way of the world. Unfortunately, so, your bigger stuff you get mass manufactured.
But then I don't feel like there's much love put into it, and I think...
No, I think that's what it's going for, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'd rather spend a little bit and know that it was a loved item or somebody had kind of put thought into it than putting into, like, mass consumerism, which is just trying to churn money.
So, quite typical with rom-coms, I suppose. That kind of still annoying thing that I've mentioned before in the past, where because we know who they are, and then when they're walking down the street initially, and then they don't even know it's them that they've been talking to, and they kind of just like their everyday lives.
Yeah.
And that stuff is like, oh God, you're right there,
right
but you don't
even know.
But you don't even know. But then comes to the point later on when she finds out who he is from being at a party or whatever, and then suddenly she comes more, and they both become more aware when they're out and about in New York.
Yeah.
Seeing each other like, oh right, I've got to hide away and things. So it makes their everyday life more of a struggle because they're having to try and purposely avoid the other person from having a confrontation or whatever, and it's
quite funny because it's like knowing at each other as themselves, and she's a shop around the corner and he's this big Joe Fox, and they despise one another, and yet they feel like they should, the competition. He is a big bag man and he's corporate and he's horrible, but yet they have this sweet innocence thing which they're not aware that could possibly even come from one another. I think that's quite romantic, and it's kind of like gives you the Marmite in a relationship, because you're going to have that bit of where there's certain things that you don't love about somebody, but the rest of them you do love.
Right.
And I feel like that is what this kind of depicts. It's like the kind of sense of she thinks personally that she should hate him, but actually, if you dig a bit deeper, you can tell that there is something there that she possibly would like, but because obviously the relationship that they've had, which is quite a bit of an animosity.
Yeah.
It would literally, they would never ever, if they only had met in person, have a relationship, would they? That would have never grown, I don't think. Because they'd have never got to that point of wanting to know one another.
No, that's right. Yeah. And that sort of develops with the mail, because it comes on to doing like instant messenger.
Yeah. So if they're both online, I think they can kind of communicate at the same time.
Yeah. And that's moves things along a bit quicker, which I think for me, there was certainly on the latter part of the film, it felt like it was dragging a little bit, but I don't know, there was just something more at the back end. I'm thinking, right, this probably didn't need to be quite as long as.
I think it was because obviously he felt like he had a lot of making up to do, didn't he?
Yeah, especially with the fact that he knew that it was her that he was meeting up with from doing all the back and forth chatting online, and then his friend kind of points out, oh, that's that woman who's trying to, doing the protests and all the stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to stop the Fox bookstore opening and all that.
Trying to save the shop around the corner.
Yeah, shop around the corner. And that went on for quite a while, didn't it, I guess?
Yeah, it did. And I think it was a bit cruel initially when he first stood her up, and then he went in as himself.
Yeah.
And obviously she wasn't expecting to see him.
Yeah.
And it really did upset her because she was getting to a point of where she was severely struggling with her shop, and it was his fault.
Yeah.
As to why the shop kind of has to get closed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of built that relationship of animosity, and they couldn't probably get past that for a while. And obviously she was talking to, like you said, she was talking to this guy asking how to go about saving her shop, and he was giving her advice. So he did feel a bit manipulative in
a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
He does say when they're instant chatting, it's only business. You know, don't take it personal. But obviously she is a personal person. It's like he kind of goes to bed at night and shuts off his business head.
Yeah.
So whatever he does within business stays within that business box. Whereas I think women find that a bit more harder to do. Women do make everything personal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of him giving her advice.
Yeah, so there was, within the advice that he was giving her, there was a lot of Godfather quotes.
Now, I have watched Godfather, and this is never going to be on an SP Film Viewer review for me, because I can't redo it. It was one Christmas for me, and my dad decided, I'm sure I wasn't of age to watch it either.
I doubt you would have been. I
wasn't. And it's like, all right, we're all going to... One Christmas, oh yeah, this sounds like a brilliant Christmas movie. I'm pretty sure it's not even... Is it based around Christmas?
It's not at all.
I've put it right to the back of my head that I can't remember anything, because it was that much of a bad experience for me.
Right, okay. Well, that might just be because you weren't at the age to understand.
I think it was, yeah. But it's like, I can't even want to watch it because of that. So, like, these phrases that they were saying, I'm like, I feel like I should know this because I watched it. Well, I watched all of them. Is there 3?
There is 3.
They're so long.
Yeah.
So long. And it's like, and I don't understand half of what they're saying. So, like, one phrase was, go to the mattresses. Like, if someone said to you, go to the mattresses, I'm thinking, well, does that mean go to bed, go to sleep, not have a fight with somebody? So, I don't know what men's obsession is with. I am definitely with her on this, because it's like, I don't know what the men... I think it's more of a man film, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I've rewatched 1 or 2 recently. They are lengthy, but there's something about them that's very cinematic and
Isn't it
mafia.
Is that
I love how we're talking about the Godfather in a wrong chick flick thing, but...
It's Tom Hanks' fault.
Don't blame Tom Hanks. Don't bring him into this. Doesn't matter.
So I personally like less Godfather quotes, but I do like how she responds to them.
Yeah, she seems to sort of take them on board in a sense.
Somewhat, but she somewhat is like, what is the obsession? So I do like the way that she responds. And
we get to a part where Kathleen then breaks up with her current partner, Frank.
Yeah, it's somewhat mutual, isn't it?
It is, weirdly. So it's kind of like the opposite of a normal breakup where, like, oh, you're breaking up with me, and then you'll break down or whatever. When they're like, phew, that's, thank goodness, yeah.
And it's kind of, you think, I wish all breakups were like this, where you could still be friends and kind of happy, and then they end up talking about this girl that he was on TV with and
stuff. Yeah, because it's very apparent throughout, leading up to that point anyway, that he seems to get along with other women a lot better than...
He flirts with anything that walks.
Pretty much. She's this big article reviewer or whatever.
And even Tom Hanks' partner.
Yeah.
They seem to have a bit more of a connection. And
I was thinking, oh, what if they're going to get together or something?
Like swap partners.
Yeah. That was quite interesting.
What did you think of Joe Fox's girlfriend, with her character and how she was like kind of perceived?
Initially, when I first saw her from the opening, the back at the beginning, she seemed kind of like a bit ditzy, maybe just, but in the sense of like she's like, I've got to be going out to work and got big meetings to go and all that kind of stuff. So she didn't really have time for him, really, and kind of just more self-involved.
Yes,
I guess. With herself, like the fact when they do break up, but it's in the lift. I think that's the breaking point, isn't it? When it's like, when I get out of here, her thing, and he doesn't even finish his sentence, and she's like, "Oh, where are my Tic Tacs?" or something. And it's like, like, really, that's what you're worried about?
Yeah,
Like,
she seems to love to have a good moan about things, and she's really self-absorbed, I felt, and she doesn't seem to care about anyone else but herself. It's like in that moment when you're stuck in a lift, which I have experienced, it is not a pleasant experience, and I wouldn't be worried about Tic Tacs, that is for sure. I'd be worried about how the hell am I going to get out of the lift. She seems to always bring it around to me, 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 me. That's what it seems like when she's talking. That's all I can hear.
Yeah. Going back to the point about the whole, like the big business and the little smaller business.
Mm-hmm.
When Meg Ryan's character's accepting of the takeover of the big capitalist building.
Yeah.
And she's, just sitting in the children's book section. And then a customer comes along and asks one of the employees, like, "Oh, where's this book by so-and-so, whatever?" And he's like, "I don't know," kind of thing. And then she has to, like, point this customer in the right direction. And she's more knowledgeable about the books and everything, and it's kind of like, shows like, people have the passion, and yet they might not be able to.
Yeah, I know what you're meaning, because obviously she loves books, children's books. She's grown up with her mum having this store, and this has been her livelihood, and she's got that passion for it. Whereas if it's just a job to somebody with a corporate, at the end of the day, I'm doing it for the money because that's why I'm here. It's like it loses that personal.
It's very soulless.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I'd rather go to somebody who is a bit of an independent shop and then be able to point me and look after me in the right direction than go to some other corporate place that just go, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, well, I'm none the wiser. Why would I come back again if you're not going to help me? So it does show that knowledge is power, and I think it's...
Well, I know when I worked in HMV, tried to do that whenever I could, really. Point people in the right direction.
I think that was one of your really, really, apart from obviously the job that you're in now, I think you did really enjoy that job. It was well suited for you. Yeah, I'd be one of those that goes, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Unless it's a chick flick.
Yeah. For people who might know, HMV is like a music, DVD, Blu-ray shop.
Vinyls, yeah. I don't know what equivalent that would be to anybody else out there, but I don't even know if people do have HMV. Is it just a UK thing? Not sure.
Not sure, actually. Anyway, that's sort of a point. I'm thinking it was a bit sad but I kind of like, that's... It's
valid, and I think it feels like it is happening more and more often now.
Yeah.
Even more so than in 1998, whenever this film was... That's right, isn't it?
Came out in 1999 over here. But,
okay.
Yeah. But anyway, there's a quite touching part with when she closes up the bookstore for the last time, turns out the lights, and then there's a vision of her mum and her when she was younger, and they do like dancing,
twirling,
right, like in the photograph that's pointed out. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, this bit always gets me. This is my kind of tugging at my heartstrings kind of moment, because like she says, she hasn't just lost, she's lost her identity, she's lost her mum. Her mum's died all over again, because obviously it was her mum's store as well, and it's just like quite a poignant moment, I think, for the film, and seeing that kind of little kind of recapping of when she was little and how much the shop has been a part of her life.
Yeah, and it's quite sad. It's not even like she's moving on in a good way. It's kind of like she's been forced
to do so.
Thing, and it's kind of like, but kind of makes it seem like it's a nice moment. Like she wasn't like bawling her eyes out or anything like that when she was leaving.
It made me want to cry, though. It did.
Even though I think she probably would be crying, like thinking, "Oh my God, I've lost the shop."
Yeah.
She didn't seem to.
I would be thinking, oh, my mum would be so disappointed in me. And I know that probably that wouldn't be the case. But, it's like, well, that was my mum's.
Yeah, it feels let them down.
Yeah. And you want to do good by them. And it's like, it was just something that was really just out of her hands, wasn't it, really? She couldn't...
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Yeah, sadly, it is.
Yeah.
It's when, even if she tried her hardest, she did fight for the shop, but it was obviously just inevitable with such a big shop, discounted books really compared to what she has.
So then we're kind of getting to the end part, really.
The nitty gritty love bit.
Yeah. Where they seem to be, well, I guess because she's now got no going on, and she's sort of hanging out with Tom Hanks a bit more now.
Yeah, but he's kind of pushing himself on her, and he's kind of stumbling across her.
Yeah.
Trying to, because obviously he's aware that he stood her up, and he actually does quite like her.
Yeah, now, despite all what's going on. You
can tell he feels genuinely guilty for what's happened. Even though it is business, he didn't really want to hurt her. I do think it is quite a sweet way that he tries to go about kind of trying to be her friend, just so that, in the hope that when he does say, well, actually, you've been talking to me online for God knows how long, that she will accept him. I think he's going through a bit of a thing of worrying if he will get rejected.
Yeah. She wouldn't be wrong in thinking, going off on one about it, really. Thinking, like, why did you...
Somewhat a catfish.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, yeah.
Like, nowadays we'd call that catfish, I'm pretty sure, because obviously it's not told it, but then I guess he hasn't put a fake picture up, but he's just not said who he is.
Early catfish, then.
Yeah.
Before it was a thing. Yeah. There was another quote that I quite liked that Tom Hanks gives. I think he seems to... his quotes that seem to stick out for me in this, but again, it's Tom Hanks. So. It's something along the lines of, so again, paraphrasing a bit, but would have asked for your number and wouldn't be able to wait 24 hours before calling you and saying, how about some coffee or drinks or dinner or a movie for as long as we both shall live.
No, it's such a cute line, isn't it? It really is adorable. And you can see that she's whelming up, and this is at the stage where she's actually going to go and meet this guy.
Yeah.
That she is thinking, and she's like, don't do this. Just...
And then he follows up with that also, which I kind of find funny in a sense. And it says, the only thing we'd fight about would be which video to rent on a Saturday night.
We don't have that problem, do we? No. I do go, I'd rather not. But then I'll go, oh, well, if that's what you want to watch, then go on then.
Yeah, it's never... No, not a really big argument. It's more like, you want to put this on? Yeah, that's fine.
Go on, yeah.
It's like, for these, really. It's kind of like, or you just be like, surprise, you're watching this, and you don't have a say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought those were quite good lines.
I actually feel like I have more connection to, like, Kathleen Kelly. Like, there's a scene where she's really poorly, and he gets her daisies, and she's just so happy that she's got these daisies, and she just carries them around with her. And I love that scene because she's just such a lovable character. There's nothing nasty about her.
She didn't come across no mannerisms or anything. When you mentioned about her having a cold, I thought she was putting that on.
No, she was genuinely had a cold, and she didn't want him coming up.
All right.
She wasn't lying.
No, I thought she was like, oh, don't go like I don't know. I kind of got the impression initially that was the case, but then thought she was just like really running with it. I don't know.
No,
okay.
No. I felt like she was generally had a cold, and like there was loads of tissues everywhere, and she's like hiding it all, trying to get rid of them and such. So she generally just didn't want to infect him, and she didn't want him seeing her like that, like full of cold and being a bit more vulnerable, I guess, because obviously this person, she wouldn't feel comfortable being vulnerable around him, because obviously with what he'd done, he'd closed a shop. She wants to be on her A game, doesn't she, when he's up there, really?
Yeah.
But obviously you get the scene at the end where obviously he talks about his dog Brinkley, and it's quite clever, I think, the way the scene is done, where obviously he shouts, Brinkley is running off, and he's shouting to call him back.
Yeah.
And obviously she recognises, well, who else is going to have a dog called Brinkley?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a common dog name. It's not like Sam.
Yeah.
So it's a case of her ears kind of pick up, and she's like looking, trying to see who's shouting the dog. And obviously then the scene comes where he's there. And I think that is a lovely scene, because actually It could go two or one ways. She could be like, you absolutely, I hate you.
Yeah.
How could you do this to me? Especially, my gripe would be, you stood me up and then you came and you smushed that in me face.
Yeah, I think that would be probably the real life situation, whereas obviously
I'd have been fuming. I'd have been like, you literally made me think I got stood up, and then I had to put up with your company of you gloating at the fact that I got stood up, which actually you turned up because you were sat there.
Yeah, whereas obviously this romanticises it quite heavily, doesn't it? Like, she said, I'm wishing it was you or something like that.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking, really? He stole he shut you down in your shop. He has been arrogant near enough throughout. Yeah. And not being that pleasant of a person towards her. Kind of being like a little bit of an enemy and a bit of rivalry there of the book world.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's slowly, gradually. And it's nice it's nice to see, but obviously me being a realistic person, I don't know if you did that to me, how I would feel. There must be definite love there behind the computer with the emails to make that relationship grow, because I think if it was just them bad experiences,
you'd have nothing.
It'd be hard for that to kind of grow, really.
Yep.
So, did you enjoy it?
Overall, yeah, I can't say.
Would you watch it again?
I think I would. I wouldn't be in a big mad rush to see it. If it was on TV or something, I might be like catch it up or thing, but I wouldn't go out my way to like, I must watch this again. I'm glad I saw it. In terms of a rating,
I know you feel now. I'm nervous.
I think I'll give it a 7.
I felt like it'd be a bit higher than that because you've been crushing over Tom Hanks all night.
That's a big selling point, like I say.
An 8 I was hoping for. No. Why a 7? Like, 7's not a bad score, but for me it is.
Right, okay.
Because I wouldn't give it a 7.
Okay. I think it's very much the way the story goes, the beats that it goes to is kind of, does get drawn out a bit as it goes along, and thinking you don't need to have so much.
Because you're a man, though, because I quite like those bits. I don't know if it's because women, well, personally, I like to know.
Maybe it is that.
I like to know everything. Like, when you talk to somebody, you get like the minimal information. And then I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? And then I go, well, did you even think of this? And you're like, no, I didn't ask. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you ask these questions? You know, and I think that's it, because that's what that film for me gave to me. Like, I didn't have to ask for anything.
Right.
Because it answered everything. I didn't sit there wanting more or thinking, well.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a little tiny bit shorter. Might have worked a little bit better, but I do like some rom-coms, don't get me wrong. And there was some good lines in this that were quite memorable, as I've pointed out to you. But for me, instead of something like Love Actually or About Time, where I could watch those ones over and over, I always like to keep coming back to those ones. But maybe it's because it's a British thing.
I think it's because it's British. However, I think as well, you've got more than one kind of character going on in the story. Yeah. So you're not just focusing on one romance. So I think that kind of keeps you more intrigued and enticed, I guess.
Well, yeah, I know. You normally do have just the 2 leads. You don't have to have multiple characters to make it an interesting thing. But
I feel like the other characters within the 2 films that you've just suggested are strong. Like, I feel like in this, you've got characters behind the scene, but they're not really brought out. It is mainly your main 2 characters. The only other 2 I'd say then you kind of get a bit more depth of them is the couple that they're with at the time.
Yeah, otherwise you don't learn a great deal about the other ones, really.
No.
But sorry, I can't put it up any higher than that.
No, that's fine.
It was enjoyable, but I feel like that's just as it is. Nothing that really bowled me over too much. So.
I think it might be a nostalgia thing for me. And obviously because it is my mum's favourite film.
Okay.
One of my mum's favourite films. And I know I've grown up with it while I've been little. I think it's obviously going to score a lot higher in that sense for me. I do feel like there's like really, really lovely moments within it, and I do enjoy seeing New York when it's in like the fall, and then obviously it gets to Christmas, and that's like my favourite seasons as well. So the season, kind of the way that they play on that, I do enjoy watching that, because I do actually enjoy going through the different seasons myself. So I think that kind of works nicely. So I'm not going to say it's a 10, because it's not by all means perfect, but this is a definitely solid 9 for me.
Okay.
I love watching it. I'd rewatch it again and I wouldn't have any problems. It's just an enjoyable, lovely, easy watch.
Yeah, easy is it's what it is.
But I hope you enjoyed, not my thoughts this time, even though I do like to give my thoughts quite freely. Thank you for listening to Paul's thoughts.
So you can check out all our other episodes up on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever else you might get your podcasts from. And of course, we're on social media platforms of Instagram and Twitter under the handle SP Film Viewers, and also Facebook as well.
Yep, so definitely go and check out those other films, and you have been making me a bit more knowledgeable, I'd say.
Try.
I have been enjoying more genres, so that is a benefit from doing this, I can say. So hopefully you'll enjoy those as well as enjoy listening to this one.
So thank you very much, and we'll speak to you next time.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.